Hello everyone, I welcome you to the class. It's been so many days since we have interacted through our classes, and possibly it is going to take a little longer time. I hope every one of you is fit and fine, staying at home and enjoying. And I know it is a little boring also, but you'll have to cope up with it. So, coming back to the studies, we have already done 11 chapters of our course outline. I'll be sending you the course outline along with the notes which I've already supplied you. This is the explanation that is meant for you to understand the unit 12 notes that has been sent to you through the WhatsApp. Okay, so today I'm going to start unit 12, that is market structure, which involves what are different kinds of market, and particularly we'll be focusing on perfect competition, what are the characteristics, and how a firm that is operating in a perfect competition makes decisions in short term and long term. All right. So first of all, before starting, the name of the chapter is market structure. What is market? As you can see in the top line, I have written what is market. Market is, see, the dimensions of a market is changing. Earlier, when there was no internet, the market used to be a place where buyers and sellers used to interact freely. That means any buyer can go to any seller and any seller can come to any buyer. There was a free interaction, and there was a particular commodity and there was a particular place. Now, when the internet is there, we don't need a particular place. A market can be a person sitting in Australia and buying stuff from America. So we cannot term it the main requirement that was there earlier, that there should be a designated area for a market, that is gone now. So we need particularly 3-4 things to call something as a market: buyers, sellers, voluntary exchange between them over a commodity, and it can be a place or it need not to be a place. It can be real or virtual. Now coming to what is competition. Competition, this term is used in many forms. You are competing with your peers in your class for marks, which is generally not a very good idea. But for the sake of understanding, competition is when there are more than two buyers and sellers, and they are acting independent of each other to buy a commodity. Okay, so there is some sense of competition between the buyers. One buyer wants to get better commodity than the other buyer, and one seller wants to make more money than the other seller. So there is some kind of a rivalry between buyers and sellers. So that term is called as competition. There are broadly two types of competition. First is perfect competition, and second one is imperfect competition. The second one is later on divided into 4 more parts. First of all, we will be talking about what is perfect competition. See, you have been hearing this term a lot, perfect competition. To say it in precise form, there are a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers which want a homogeneous, that is a same commodity, a commodity which is not varying, a same commodity, and those buyers and those sellers, they don't have any kind of control over the price of that commodity. Example for this thing can be, best example would be agriculture related goods. They can be grain crops, they can be fruits, can be vegetables. To look after it, there are many producers of vegetables, there are many buyers of vegetables. Okay, so how the price is being generated? By the virtue of the producers, there is a supply. By the virtue of the consumers, there is a demand. So the demand and supply of both these entities interact and set up a price. It simply means not any of the buyers, not any of the sellers can affect the price. It is set automatically by market forces of demand and supply. One more thing, all the sellers and all the buyers in the perfect competition market are very small. Okay, very small people. A consumer has to buy, let's say, 10 kgs of fruits per month. Producer is supplying only 0.0001% of the market supply, so they cannot actually affect the price no matter how hard they try. Second thing that comes in is imperfect competition. whole of the difference between perfect and imperfect is degree of control over price. In perfect competition, nobody can affect the price. In imperfect competition, there is some sort of affecting the price. The people who are selling those commodities can affect the price in one way or the other. First of all, let's say monopolistic competition. What is monopolistic competition? We'll be going by these four things. Alright. In monopolistic competition, sometimes the number of sellers or the number of firms is very large, and it can be larger than even than perfect competition. Alright. Second thing, nature of product. Slightly differentiated product. As in perfect competition, the product was exactly the same, that is was being produced by all of the producers. In monopolistic competition, it is slightly different. There are very minute differences in these products. So as there is very minute difference in the product, let's say there are 1000 sellers and each of them is selling a slight variation of a product. Taking by the example, let's say retail goods, 1000 sellers of soaps, they are making different kinds of soap. Inherently they all are same, but there are very small differences among those soaps. It can be packaging, it can be the way they smell, it can be the number of in the quantity of froth they develop. It can be can be by the harshness of the product. Some soaps are harsh, some soaps are not harsh, some soaps are meant for babies, some soaps are meant for other people, for sick people. See, that's why those products are very slightly differentiated. Because they are very slightly differentiated, a buyer can actually affect the price in a little bit of manner. He can actually can say there are 1000 different types of soaps. Let's say I am the 1001 number seller and I am selling baby soaps. Okay, and it is slightly different from the other soaps. So I can actually affect the price. I can say that I'll sell my soap at this price, but I cannot be too demanding. If all the other people are selling 100 gram of soap for 20 rupees, what I can do is I can ask for 21, maximum 22, but it's not like that I can ask for 40 rupees. Nobody is going to buy my product. People will shift on to other sellers. Example, I have already told you, retail goods. Retail goods, you can say you go to a confectionery shop, that is a retail, that is what we call a retail shop. You can find a lot of things there. Eatables, snacks, soaps, or all kinds of cleaning products. There are thousands of producers that are producing same thing with slight variations. Alright, actually no two companies can produce same product because of copyright issues, and so this is the example of monopolistic competition. Then comes oligopoly. You can see there are two types of oligopoly, pure oligopoly and differentiated oligopoly. The only difference between these two is nature of the product. In pure oligopoly, there are 3 to 10 sellers. In differentiated oligopoly also there are 3 to 10 sellers. When we come to the nature of the product, in pure oligopoly, let's say there are 8 firms. All of the 8 firms are selling exactly the same product. In differentiated oligopoly, all of the 8 firms are selling very slightly differentiated product. That's why we call it differentiated oligopoly. So when all 8 firms are selling the same good, there is some control over the price, because there are, let's say in terms of pure oligopoly, I am the 5th seller, and let's say I raise, we were again selling what? Steel or chemical. Let's say for 1 ton of steel, everyone else is charging 1 lakh rupees, and I try to charge 1 lakh 10,000 rupees. So it can actually work for me. Not all of the buyers will come to me now, but some people who absolutely prefer my product, because there is some kind of can say when there are 7 to 8 sellers, and people actually try to perceive that there are differences which are actually not there, and we generally prefer some seller. It might be due to his nature, it might be due to can say his kind of service, it can be due to any reason. That's why that seller functioning in pure oligopoly has a little control over the price. Example for this was steel and chemicals. Can say there are not many producers of steel in our country. There are very few multinational companies that produce steel, and also chemicals. See, chemicals are used in different forms, different products which we use throughout our life, but the producer of those chemicals are very limited. Alright. So this was the difference between pure oligopoly and differentiated. 8, 3 to 10 sellers, homogeneous product, that is same product, or differentiated product, slightly differentiated. In oligopoly, let's say people develop preferences due to some reasons, some can say irrational reasons, that they like the looks of the seller, they like the service, they like the way he can say sells them the product, the way he is comfortable, the way people are comfortable from buying buying product from themselves. There can be rational or irrational reasons. That's why he has some control over the price. Example is steel and chemicals. Then coming to differentiator. See, there are 8 sellers. Along with the can say irrational or rational perceived preferences of those 8 sellers, let's say I am a buyer. There are 8 sellers selling slightly differentiated product. That all of the sellers have slight more control than the pure oligopoly seller. Why? Because first of all, there are only 8. Alright. Second, the product is also different. Any of the sellers in a differentiated oligopoly market, if he let's say changes the price of his product, then what will happen? Not all the consumers who were buying from him will go away to the other sellers. Not all. Some people will remain because the product is slightly differentiated and people might like that kind of a difference, some people. And plus, the way I told you in pure oligopoly, people also might develop some kind of rational or irrational preferences based on his selling techniques, based on the way you can say he is easy to interact with, based on that you know that guy because he's a friend of a friend. Alright. Then comes what are the can say examples of this differentiated oligopoly? Electronic market, you can buy different types of mobiles. There are generally 8 to 10 mobile selling companies. They are all literally selling the same product. Just the difference is in a little bit of design, a little bit of color differences, a little bit of can say interface differences. Alright. And also automobiles and computers, it's all the same. If you want to go out and buy a 125cc bike, you will be getting 5, 6, 7 options. All of them are giving more or less the same mileage. All of them are just more or less a little bit differentiated from each other in the terms of looks or anything else. Then comes monopoly. What is a monopoly? Monopoly when there is only one seller of a product and his product is unique. Nobody else has that product. Alright. So because he is the only seller and his product is unique, there is a very large control over the price. He can actually increase or decrease the price by a lot of amount. Let's say if he wants to increase the price by 50%, he can. If he wants to decrease the price by 50%, he can. He doesn't need to care about anybody else. Alright. What is the example of monopoly? Railways or electricity. See, if you want to travel from Delhi to Agra by train, how many options do you have apart from government railways? You don't have any. So whatever the price they want to charge, they can charge. Second is electricity. If you want an electricity connection for your house, how many options do you have? There is none. There is only a government source of electricity. See, what I said, there is a large control of over the price by these railway enterprises and electricity enterprises. That is the government. But they cannot charge any price they want. The price is 4 rupees per unit, let's say 3 rupees per unit in Haryana. Suddenly if the government tries to decide that we'll be giving it for 10 rupees per unit, there will be a hue and cry among the public. And public will literally not allow them to increase this amount by so much. Let's say if they succeed in increasing the price from 3 to 10, a lot of people will can say reduce their electricity demand. They'll stop using ACs, they'll stop using coolers because they cannot afford it simply. Alright. So these were different. What is a market? What is competition? Market, a place, can be real or virtual, and voluntary exchange. There is a commodity. There are buyers and sellers. Then what is a competition? Competition literally means rivalry. Then there are two types of competition: perfect competition and then imperfect competition. Perfect competition, large numbers of buyers and sellers, same product, can say no control over the price. Example is farm produced goods. Imperfect competition, we have monopolistic competition, large number of sellers, slightly differentiated product, some very little control over the price. Example is all types of retail goods. Then comes oligopoly, pure oligopoly and differentiated oligopoly. 3 to 10 sellers, 3 to 10 sellers. Homogeneous product, slightly differentiated product. Then comes the amount of control over the price. There is some control and there is some control, but the control over price in case of differentiated oligopoly is more than pure oligopoly. Example is automobiles, computers and mobile companies. Then comes monopoly, single seller, unique product. He can charge whatever the price he wants, but not too high or not too low, because the price will also affect the demand. Example is railways and electricity. Now coming back to what is perfect competition. There are some characteristics I have already told you. Large number of firms, plus there are large number of buyers also. Nature product is homogeneous, that is exactly the same product. There are no differences. Degree of control over the price, when the number of buyers are large, when the number of sellers are very large and each of them is very small, they cannot affect the price. They don't have that bargaining power. Alright. Example is farm produced goods, and other characteristics include free entry and exit of the firms. That means if some producer wants to exit that market, he can. If some producer wants to enter into that market, he can. There are no restrictions. Alright. You want to produce, you come and you produce. There are literally no restriction on entry or exit. No government regulations. There is no kind of a government regulation, not any. Let's say a fruit market. If you are a producer of let's say oranges and you go into the APMC to sell there, what kind of government regulations do you have there? See, not having any kind of government regulation is not very possible, because otherwise there will be malpractices. In agriculture produce market committee, that is APMC, that is your mandi, there are few regulations that business will be conducted in this manner. Alright, so that people are saved from malpractices, both buyers and both sellers. Alright, there is a fair trade. Nobody is able to cheat anybody. So there are some government regulations, alright, very small government regulations, if there are any. Perfect mobility of resources, that is labor, all the other resources, that is capital, raw material, can say what were the factors of production: land, labor, capital, organization. Land can be used for any purpose, literally any purpose. Labor can go from one farm to another farm, one company to another company, they can move easily, there is no restriction. Raw material can be moved from one place to another. Entrepreneur, that is organization, the fourth factor of production, he can also move from one company to another company, one farm, he can become a manager of this farm, then go to the next farm, then go to the next farm, whenever he wants. There is a perfect mobility. Alright. Then comes perfect knowledge. Perfect knowledge is generally, you'll see, let's say the example of a fruit market. I am the seller, okay, and there is some buyer. In the first buyer in the market is can say a wholesale buyer. He knows throughout the country what is the demand for, let's say, orange. I am a producer of oranges, I take my oranges to him. He knows the situation of throughout the country, what is the price going on different parts of the country. I can buy it cheap here and sell it over in the southern India for a profit. In perfect competition sense, both the buyers and the seller, they have same type of information, equal information. Nobody can cheat anybody. Alright, thanks a lot.